The question says the doctor order is for Bumex 0.8 milligrams IV bolus BID. Reconstitution instructions are reconstitute with 1,000 micrograms per 3.1 mLs with 4.8 mLs of 5% dextrose water for injection. How many mLs will you administer? So first, what I like to do is write down what my answer needs to end in. So our answer needs to end in mL, so I just write that to the side. All right, so let's first look at the problem to see what we actually need. So with our reconstitution questions, they sometimes come with a lot of extra fluff. So we know that the fluff in this problem is the 4.8 mLs of 5% dextrose. So we just going to go ahead and cross that out. We do not need that. All right. So let's start with the physician's order. So let's say, how do you know? You're like, Nurse Doc Tutor, how do you know that we don't need the 4.8 mLs of 5% dextrose? Well, because that's what we're going to add to get the concentration. So let's say if you was doing this reconstitution in real life and just not a math problem, then we would need the 4.8 mLs of dextrose, because that's what we would actually have to drop in our syringe, is the 4.8 mLs. But when you are doing it for the dosage, you don't actually need it. So we just need to know what comes about that after we do it, okay? All right, so let's start with the physician's order. So the physician's order is 0.8 milligrams. All right, so we know that milligrams has to cancel out because our answer needs to be in mLs. So when we go back to our problem, do we see milligrams anywhere? No, we see micrograms, and we see micrograms right here. So we have to go from milligrams to micrograms. So we know that 1 milligram is 1,000 micrograms. So then milligrams cancel out. So remember, in order for something to cancel out, it has to be on the top and it has to be on the bottom. All right, so our milligrams canceled out. So we're left with mcg, micrograms, but our answer needs to be in mLs. All right, so we know from our problem that there is 1,000 micrograms per 3.1 mLs. So our micrograms cancel out and we're left with mLs, and we need mLs, right? So we're in good standing. So now what we want to do is multiply straight across. So we're going to multiply 0.8 times 1,000 times 3.1, and you should get 2480. And then we're going to take the bottom and multiply straight across. So 1 times 1,000, and that's going to give you 1,000. And then we do 2,480 divided by 1,000, and then you get 2.48. And then we're going to round that to the nearest tenth, and we're going to give 2.5 mLs. The question says the doctor orders tadazidine 0.3 grams IM TID. Reconstitution instructions for an IM solution is to add 1.5 mLs of dilute. You want to shake to dissolve, and this provides approximate volume of 1.8 mLs, which is 280 mGs per ml. So the question is, how many mLs will you give? All right, so first what we want to do is write down to the side what our answer needs to end in. Our answer needs to end in mLs. Now, let's get rid of the fluff. What are some things that we do not need in this problem? Well, since we're just doing the doses calculation and not actually drawing it up in real life, we can get rid of that. Add 1.5. We can get rid of that. And then the approximate volume of 1.8, we can get rid of that. So all we're left with is the physician's order and your actual dosage concentration. So let's go ahead and start with the physician's order. So 0.3 grams. Well, We know that grams need to cancel out because our answer needs to be in mLs. So we go up to the problem and say, do we see grams anywhere? No, we don't, but we see milligrams. So we know that 1 gram is 1,000 milligrams. So remember, whatever is on the top is on the bottom. So that's why our grams were able to cancel out. Now, we need to cancel out our milligrams. So milligrams need to go on the bottom. So we go back to our problem and see, do we have a milligram? Yes, we do. So we have 280 milligrams per 1 ml. So our milligrams cancel out. And then all we need to do now is multiply straight across. So we're going to take 0.3 times 1,000 times 1. And that is going to give us 300. And then we're going to do the same for the bottom. 1 times 280, that's going to give us 280. So then we're going to divide 300 divided by 280, and you should get 1.071. But we're going to round to the nearest tenth, and that's going to give us 1.1 mLs. The question says the doctor orders fentanyl 0.05 milligrams IV bolus. Reconstitution instructions are reconstitute to fentanyl 100 micrograms per 2.3 mLs with 2.4 mLs of dextrose water for injection. How many mLs will you administer? So first we want to start out writing on the side what our answer needs to end in. So our answer needs to end in mLs. Also, now let's get rid of the fluff. So what is fluff? Fluff is the things that are there to distract us and numbers we don't need. So being that we're just doing the dosage problem and we're not actually reconstituting in real life, we can get rid of the reconstitution volume. So we can get rid of the 2.4 mLs of 5% dextrose. We do not need that in order to do the math problem. All right, so now let's start with the physician's order. So the physician ordered 0.05 milligrams. So we got to cancel out milligrams because milligrams is, our answer needs to end in mLs. So when we go to our problem, do we see anything where we can cancel out milligrams? No, we have micrograms. So if milligrams is on the top, milligrams need to go on the bottom here. So we know that 1 milligram is 1,000 micrograms. All right, so then our milligrams cancel out. Now we're left with micrograms, but our answer needs to be in mLs. Now we can go back to the problem. So if micrograms is on the top, micrograms need to go on the bottom down here. And we have 100 micrograms over 2.3 mLs. So micrograms is going to be canceled out. We're going to be left with mLs, and that's what we need. So now it's the easy part. All we have to do is multiply. So we're going to put in our calculator all the stuff on the top, which is the 0.05 times 1,000 times 2.3. And then we're going to, wait, let me actually put that in my calculator. I thought I had it written out. Sorry, y'all. All right, so we're going to put in our calculator 0.05 times 1,000 times 2.3. So that's going to give us 115. And then we're going to just do 1 times 100, and that's going to just give us 100. So then we're going to divide 115 divided by 100, and that's going to give us 1.5. That's going to give us 1.15 mLs. So what we're going to do is we're going to round that to the nearest tenth, and that's going to give us 1.2 mLs. The question says that the provider orders ANSEF 0.4253 grams IM BID. The reconstitution instruction says for IM, add 1.25 mLs of dilute, shake to dissolve, and this provides approximately 1.6 mLs, which is the concentration of 240 milligrams per ml. How many mLs will you administer? So what we like to do first is what? Add what you need to end in, and that's going to be ml. So we just write that to the side. And now let's go up to the problem. Let's get rid of our fluff. So what is our fluff? Everything, basically that volume and things that we have to add in that solution, we don't need that because we're not actually doing it. We're just doing the math problem. So we're going to get rid of this one. And then we're going to get rid of this. So all we should be left with is the dosage concentration and the physician's order. So let's go ahead and start with the physician's order. So we're going to write out 0.4253 grams. Okay. All right. So grams need to cancel out because our answer needs to be in ml. So we look up at our problem and say, do we see any grams? No, we don't see any grams. So we have to go do some conversion. So grams is on the top. So grams have to go on the bottom. So 1 gram is 1,000 milligrams. So grams cancel out. We're left with milligrams, but we got to keep going. So go up to our problem. Milligrams need to go on the bottom. So it's 240 milligrams is 1 ml. So milligrams cancel out, and then we're left with mLs. So now all we have to do is multiply straight across. So we're going to multiply 0.4253 times 1,000, and we'll get 425.3. And then all we have on the bottom is 1 times 240. So we just have 240 on the bottom. So then we're going to divide 425.3 divided by 240. And that's going to give us 1.77208 long number, all these threes. All right. So then we're going to round to the nearest tenths. And we're going to get 1.8 mLs.